All right, back on the F350. I couldn't let it go, and it was just haunting me because I had the tire off, so I wanted to check the wheel bearings, and I'm glad I did. There was some grease on them, but it was kind of cruddy, so I repacked the wheel bearings. The seal I used, this is the inner seal. It's a National. They're $9 a piece. You need one per side. There is no outer seal on this side or the other side. You just have the inner seal. So, all right, let me get this. Throw that there. First place we're gonna do, you can use a pry bar like this to go and get that cap off. What works for me, or I have one, so I use it. It's just a seal puller. There's your cap. And then let me go get some tools. We'll get this pulled out of here. We do have to remove the caliper. Now, this one has a pin here and down here. You drive it out, this comes off. Normally, depending if it's a car, truck, what, you'll have two bolts and the caliper will come off, and then there's two bolts for the inner bracket. This here, once I go and pop these pins, this will let if I can pull this, it clears. I don't have to remove this. It's all one piece anyway. I can't. But, you know, they're all different, but like I said, on a lot of cars, if you do it, you'll have two bolts. They'll remove the caliper and then another two bolts to get this bracket off, and that's how you get the rotor off. This is what we have on this one, so that's all I can show. And all right, let me get some tools and let's get started. All right, so first thing we gotta do is we're gonna get this. I just gotta drive these pins out. I may have to stop and go, and that quite a bit because it's been raining. It's been raining on and off all day, so I just gotta play it by ear on how far we're gonna get, or if I'll have to call it quits, or how we're gonna do that. This is all we have. It's two pieces of metal with the rubber in there. This is the pin kit that holds this particular model. Like I said, a lot of them are bolted, so we'll set them aside. I should have brought my cardboard. Now we can... Now if I was going to do brakes, which there's good meat on these, here's where I'd pop the shoes out. I'd push the calipers back in and that, but we're not doing brakes on this. Don't let this caliper hang. Just hang by the brake hose. Worst thing you can do. And we got a ton of grease in here. don't worry about destroying this cotter pin in here. You really should replace it anyway. Even if I get it out intact, I'll go ahead and replace it. I won't reuse it. When I did the other side, it just came apart. It's been bent and unbent so many times, it just broke. So, like I said, it's one of them. Just replace it. So now we have this. That will get replaced. This little cap, don't lose, because that's what the pin goes. This goes over the spindle nut, and then that pin goes in, and that's what keeps it from backing off. The spindle nut on this is a 93 F350, and we're using 1 1/16 socket. No, that wasn't great, but and we're off. You'll have, this is the seal we bought. That's the inner wheel seal here. There's the bearing here. So you have to remove this seal to get the bearing out. We'll wipe it all down, repack it in new grease. So I'm gonna get this stuff inside the garage, and I'll get it cleaned up, and then I'll show you. All right, we'll take our seal puller once again. We'll come over here, just put it under the seal. Again, non-reusable part. Please throw it away. Then, there's your bearing. I mean, there's grease on it, but as you can see, it's a little bit on the funky side. So, I'm glad I took this extra step and decided to repack these. Now, there's the bearing. Just go through and inspect it. You're gonna have wear across here, like there, all the way across, but make sure you don't, make sure these can turn. Make sure this turns and it don't hang up. It's turned smooth. So we'll re-grease that. I don't feel the need to put new bearings in it. I will wipe that out some. Don't get obsessive thinking, oh, you got to get it all out. I just want to get some of the old grease out of there, because it's got little chunks in it, from age and all that. So, just kind of clean it up. All right, now, some people might have a good laugh here. I don't normally wear gloves when I'm doing something, but that being said, when I'm packing bearings, I find it a little easier. So there's our grease. Now there's different trains of thought on how to do this. You have to develop your own method that you want to use for yourself. I think there's a secret to getting these gloves on too. If this one tears, then I think we say heck with it and just go with the bare hand old-fashioned way I used to do it. Some people, well, I'll show you. I mean, it's up to you. You can buy, they do have a bearing packer that you can actually buy. You know, you put the bearing in there, and I ain't sure how it works. I've never had one. Some people will put a bunch of grease in their hand and they'll massage it in there. What I do, I put a clump right there. Let me take a knee, see if it helps with the lighting. Then I'll grab my bearing and I just slowly go like this. And you'll see it starting to come out there. See how it's starting to come out there, right there? And I'll go move it a little and just continue doing that. All right, and there we have it. Now I'll take some of this grease here, and I'll just wipe it in there on the race and whatnot. I know, wipe grease out, just wipe, but it is new grease versus the old. All right. Drop your bearing in there. And this is why, for packing bearings, I do wear gloves. I'm just going to wipe the very top lip of that, not inside it, but just the top. Now these here, you want to drive in, it isn't quite as priority on these. If you're doing a wheel seal, like on a semi, you really got to get them in there square, otherwise they'll leak no matter what. So kind of set it there the best you can. Now if you don't have a seal driver, you can take a piece of wood, long as it covers the whole thing, set it on there and whack it in the center. And that will accomplish the same thing. That's how I've been doing it for a lot of years. And I finally picked up this seal driver. There we go. Sound I was looking for. Now the reason I did the inner one first is because once you put the seal in, it can't come out. Now I can flip it over and I can do this side. So we'll do the same thing. I'm trying to go quicker, and I probably failed because I thought maybe if I only did one bearing at a time, I'm trying to get so this isn't really long video. Trying to do it short. So again, I'll put the grease there. We'll get our bearing and just and again, you can see it starting to come out. So then just slowly go all the way around the bearing as it comes out. And like I said, you'll hear probably 20 different ways to do it. So no one way is better than the other. You know, because I've had people tell me, oh, I massage it in, it's quicker, and, you know, do it how you want, but just don't wipe grease on the bearing, throw it in there, and think you're done. You got to get the grease moved up in there. Now we'll do the same thing. I'll wipe up my surplus grease here. We'll get that race take your bearing. All right, and we're ready to go put it back on the truck. It don't take long. It's a quick thing to do. And so there is to it. You do have, once you put this on, you'll have this washer. And this washer has 2 flat spots, and your spindle will have 2 flat, so that can only go on one way. Don't matter if you go this way or this way, but these flat spots will go on the flat spots on there. Now this here, don't worry about how you get your nut on there to line up to put a cotter key, because this has different spacing on these teeth. So if it don't go this way, if it don't line up with the hole, don't back off or tighten the nut. Just pull it off and keep turning until you find one where you can drop your cotter straight down through. All right, I'll take you back out, get you faced on the spindle, and we'll get this put on quick. Okay, there's my socket, my needle nose. Of course, I forgot the hammer. We don't need that just yet till we go to put that caliper back on. There's the washer, the nut, and that. And I didn't bring the cotter pin, but here's the hole for your cotter pin, and here's the flats I was talking about. There's one on each side. I did wipe this down. It's a little pitted, but it's smooth. You want to make sure it's smooth. If you have any ridges or anything, you might want to take some emery cloth and lightly clean them up. But now you gotta be kind of careful. This is a very heavy chunk of metal, but you got to get that seal is going in first. So you really don't want to bash the hell out of that seal. Alright, so now we'll put our nut on, or I'm sorry, our flat washer. Now Ford, they have a dual torque assembly for this. They say 18-inch pounds, back it off, then 21, or vice versa. But what I've found is when I go and do it to their specs, I don't like, because, well, you can see how loose it is now. But if I go by Ford specs, I can feel a little bit of movement. So what I adjust mine for is I'll spin it both ways, and I go for 0 slack, and that's a little tighter than what Ford calls for. But see, I don't know if you can hear this, that means I have a little bit of slop in it. So I'll tighten it up a touch more. Okay, that's all there is to it. Now I'll go and put this on, and I'll find my alignment, put the cotter in there, bend it, hammer the cap on, and you're done. And then of course you're going to put the caliper back on. I guess we could do that here real quick. Maybe. Starting to rain again, so I might just go and do it and not worry so much about filming it. But all right, yeah, I think that's what I'm gonna do, because it's starting to rain again, so I just want to get this on and that. But all right, there's doing your front wheel bearings. Thank you. Just quick, I got the brake on. I put a touch of anti-seize on each stud. That way, when I go to take them off again next time, they won't be seized on there. You still need to torque them, and don't cake it on there. You cake it on there, when you go to hit the air gun, that shit's gonna splatter everywhere. But put a little bit of anti-seize on there, and all I gotta do is get the tire on, and we're all done. So, all right, that's it.